We are Splash, a youth arts workshop providing free art classes for urban youth. In this video, we show you how to draw shapes.
Today we're going to do some beginning drawings, some simple drawing of shapes. But since this is Black History Month, first I want to introduce myself to some of you who don't really know about Splash, who don't know who I am, or why we're here, or why we do what we do. So like I stated, my name is Charlie Newton. I grew up right here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I grew up on the west side in College Hill Courts. And as a child, at 5 years old, my mother had to go grocery shopping, and she asked the teenager who lived above us, his name was Brother. I don't know his real name. All I know his name was Brother. And he would babysit my brother and I on occasions. And he babysitted us for 30 minutes. And when we went upstairs, he lived above us in 14th Street Court. He had drawn a picture of Batman and Superman and had colored it with color pencils. I didn't even know who Batman and Superman was. I had never seen anything like that. I had never seen, to my knowledge, seen art before. And when I saw those two pictures, it blew my mind. And I saw a light coming through the window. I think it was the light of God. And I knew right then at 5 years old, in that moment, I would be an artist and make art for the rest of my life. And that's all I've ever done in my life. And for the last 67 years, that's all I've ever done. And so, grew up on the west side, like I said, and then went to Howard High School, took art classes at Howard. Then when my parents moved us to the east side, East Chattanooga, Avondale area, and I spent a lot of time in Avondale Center, and you see one of the murals that I did 20 years ago on the inside of that center. That's a 20-year-old mural that I did with kids. But grew up on the east side and Avondale, and went to Riverside High School. That's now Science and Arts on 3rd Street, and took art classes with Mrs. Charlie Mae Hertz. And a lot of great artists came out of that school, including Samuel L. Jackson. But a lot of artists came out of that school. But after that, I started actually selling art. I had my first art festival. I was in an art festival in the 12th grade in 1970, 70 or 71. And I sold out of all of my pictures. I had about 25, 30 pictures, and I sold everything. And I went to UTC, and I got my BA from UTC. And in 1971, when I entered UTC, I didn't know what was happening, but I wound up working for Concentrated Employment, and that was a government program that worked with single parents. And I was actually the head of the art department I think I probably was a junior by then at UTC. And what we would do is we would teach art to single parents, these ladies, women, and they would have something that they could sell at the end. And that was my job to do that. Also, I worked at the Boys Club when it was on East 9th Street under Mr. Brown. Everybody know him. And under Mr. Stanley, he was the head artist there, and I worked there. So I didn't know that where my path was going to take me. But I always just wanted to be an artist. After I left UTC with my Bachelor of Arts degree, I ended up working for Vansco Posters and Billboard Advertising. I didn't know where that was going to lead me to, but what it did, it taught me how to scale my work. Because during those days, we did what was called, we would have to actually draft the billboards with pencil in its full size, its natural size, to scale. We would scale the billboard up from a small design. So it taught me how to do murals. And so I worked there for 3 years. And that's the only job I've had outside of being a professional, freelance artist working for myself. I never worked any other jobs than that. But worked there for 3 years, and then went to Norfolk, Virginia, where I entered graduate school at Old Dominion University and Norfolk State University. And in 3 years, a little bit over 3 years, I got my MFA degree, which is like a PhD in any other field. It's the terminal degree in art. And even while in graduate school, I was given a major commission by the Navy to do 5 murals for a battleship. And actually, I did that. That stressed me out to the uttermost. But somehow somebody in the Navy found out about me, and they challenged me to do those murals, and I actually did it. And so after graduating from the consortium program, I actually went to 2 graduations that year. In 1987, I went to 2 graduations. I went to a graduation for Old Dominion University, and a month later, I went to a graduation for Norfolk State University, and I got my Master's of Fine Art. During that time, I also got a scholarship to go to Europe and study in Italy, and with the University of Georgia. And when I went to Europe, we landed in London, and on that second day, I met my wife, Iantha, on the second day. So I saw her for 2 days, and then I went off to Italy, and then came back after a month or so, and then we had a 5-year relationship. I like to tell that story because kids love finding out, like us tell the story of how we met. So we had a cross-the-water relationship for 5 years. I would go to England once a year, or she would come to America. And after that, we got married, and we've been married for 30 years now. And so I remember sitting down 10 years ago, and some of you know that I'm a pastor as well. We had been feeding the homeless people in my studio downtown on Market Street every Sunday. We had been giving them a free meal, and also I was doing prison ministry at the same time. But we had about 30 homeless children that would come every Sunday, and I felt led to do something for kids, and I saw how they took to art, and I asked my wife, what would have made a difference in our lives? What would have helped us? What would have undergirded us to help us as black artists going through this world that basically, is very anti-black, and free art classes, because I remember taking art classes when I was in the 5th grade from the famous artist schools. And my mother couldn't afford to pay for the classes, so I took the classes for 2 months, and when they wanted $1,500 from her, that was the end of that class. And in the 5th grade, I cried like a baby. And it was like, I never forgot how the pain that I felt inside for not being able to draw and paint and learn more about it. And some of you have kids out there, if they can't learn art, they're going to have a lot of pain inside, because art is not what I do. Art is who I am. I'm made this way. And so are some of the kids out there. And I believe all children are artists, and you have to unlearn being an artist. All children are creative. When a child takes art, they become smarter. They learn to love learning, because it's all about investigation. It's all about learning. You have to go inside. It's very interior. It's a lot of interior work. There's mindfulness, and there's healing. I heard a discussion and almost an argument yesterday about the difference between art therapy, and not to use that term too loosely, but as an artist, I understand that if a person is an art therapist, they have gone to school, they've gotten the learning, they have their degree in art therapy, yes. But however, art is therapy. So for me, art is therapy, and for a lot of people, art is therapy. That just comes with that's just the nature of art. Because there's a lot of interior work that goes on, not just when you are making art, but when you are watching someone make art. There's a healing process, a healing dimension in art. And we can talk about that another time. I know I'm talking a lot, but this is Black History Month, and you have a black artist here in Chattanooga who has exhibited in Italy. I've exhibited in London. I've exhibited in New York, Richmond, Virginia. I've had one-man show at the Hunter Museum of American Art here. I had another show that was, it's sort of like a one-man show, but it wasn't a major one-man show. So I've had 2 shows at the Hunter Museum, and I've been included in some other drawing shows at the Hunter Museum of Art. And that's before this last group of people have come in. I've been around so long. The first art festival was done by me and a guy named Michael Schofield, who I've been trying to get back to Chattanooga, but he won't come back to Chattanooga. So there's a lot of ability and talent here, and there's a renaissance in art going on in Chattanooga, and I want our kids to participate in it. I want your kids to participate in it. Why? Because art is a multi-trillion-dollar business. The value of art never decreases. The value of art always increases. You cannot go anywhere where you don't see the footprint of an artist somewhere. In your house, all you have to do is just look around. The chair you're sitting in, it was designed by an artist, an engineer and an artist. Amen. The clothes you're wearing, it's called textile design, drawn. Everything had to be drawn first. The house you're in, an architect had to draw up plans for it. Even the piping that's going through your house and the electrical work, electrical engineers drew up all that stuff. You know, art is about making. Art is life. Art is everything. I know we've been kept out of it, but there have been black artists ever since there have been black people in America. So art did not start in the West. Art was born in the East. Art was born with the first man and woman. There has always been art, and there always will be art. You are never more like God than when you're creating art. Art is that creative process. That right brain thinking is where innovation lives. It's where new businesses can be formed. It's new ideas, cures, not just vaccines for COVID, but even one day there will be a cure for COVID that will come out of the mind of a creative, be it an Einstein or be it a James Baldwin or be it a whoever, you know. So that's my spiel on art. That's my spiel on Splash. And so I'm going to try to do every Saturday now, starting today. I'm really wanting to reach more preschoolers and young people under 10 years old as well. So we're going to do the basic things on Saturday. And so our classes are Saturday from 11 to 12, Tuesday and Thursdays from 5 to 6 on my Facebook page. Or you can catch me on Splash's Facebook page as well. But we record live on my Facebook page because we found that we can reach more people by doing that. Okay, so we have maybe 30 minutes left, or no, we have an hour left. I guess 30 minutes, 20 minutes. Anyway, let me know. So we're not going to spend all day doing this today. Today you're going to need your drawing pencils. We're just going to draw with a drawing pencil. I'm trying to decide if I want to use a ruler or not. We'll use a ruler to clean up lines. So we're going to start off sketching with our H pencil. If you have a pencil with a letter H on it, it could be H, it could be HB, it could be 2H. But the H pencil, that H stands for hard lead, basically. When the lead of the pencil is hard, then it will make a lighter line. And we're just going to sketch. We're going to sketch these shapes that's right in front of us. There's a difference in drawing from life and drawing from a picture. I suggest that all Splash kids, all beginning artists, I suggest that you spend a lot of time drawing from life. This is called a still life. I set up a still life of nothing but shapes. And so draw from life. Now when you draw, try to keep your hands off the paper. You can put, like I'm going to put this paper towel down here if I want to rest my hand. But try to keep your hands off the paper. And you can put something down to keep your hands off the paper. It's the oils that's in your hands will smudge the paper. And so just sketch in, and look at how I'm holding my pencil here. I have my hand turned over. I'm not holding my pencil like this, even though you can, some artists do. But hold your pencil like this, not like you're drawing. We're going to hold our pencil like we're drawing later, but it's difficult to sketch lightly when you hold your pencil like you're writing. So we'll hold our pencils like we're writing later. But right now, I want you to hold your pencils this way. I answer, if I turn my page this way, can you see the whole page, or am I out of?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm going to turn my page this way. This is called the landscape way. It's because the objects are spread out. So first I'm going to draw the basic shapes, and the first shape that I see is the tallest shape. I'm going to draw the tallest shape and where I think it might be. I'm sketching lightly. There's a triangular shape. This is a cone shape. It's round, okay? You may not be able to tell, but this is a round shape. I have to keep in mind, whenever you're drawing, make little notes to yourself. Always make notes. So this is where I think this shape might be. See how light I'm drawing? You might not even be able to see these lines, and that's okay if you can't. So I can change this shape. I don't really know where that shape is, but I'm investigating what I'm seeing. So I'm trying not to just look at that setup. I'm trying to see it, and there's a big difference. I may want to move my cone over. I'm going to move my cone over. So see, since I sketched lightly, see how I can change my mind? I don't have to erase. I don't have to erase because I'm sketching. And I want it to look like that cone. I'm going to move my cone up a little bit too. Now the higher your objects are on the page, those objects will be closer to the horizon line or vanishing point, and they will appear to be in the background or behind objects. The lower your objects are on the page, they will seem to come forward or be in the foreground. So I move the cone up so that I can get some of the things that's in front of the cone on the page. So I'm sketching the basic shapes. Next to that cone is a cube. It has 4 sides. 8 sides. And there's a basic, this is what's the hardest for kids to learn to draw is this cube. But when you draw the cube, when you learn to draw it, it's going to open up doors that no man can shut. So I'm very interested in where the bottom of that cube is in relationship to the bottom of the cone. And that's what I'm paying attention to. Now, this is sort of an advanced way of looking at this, but Splash Kids, some of you watching are advanced. I don't care how advanced you are, you should do this, what I'm doing here. This is practice, and practice will just make you better. So I see right now that I'm going to be making some changes. I want this cube that I see, I want to draw the cube that I see, that I'm seeing now. So this cube is sort of tall. It's not it's not really equal size. It looks more rectangular. I have to turn my hand over. Now normally, when I draw for my art, I'm not drawing on a drafting table. But many of you do not have easels And that may be something that I may do for Splash Kids. Matter of fact, I am going to do that. And you're going to have to remind me, if any Splash Kids are watching, the advanced students, the kids I usually teach on Saturday, if you do all of these classes, I'll say for the next 2 months, and I have to help me remember this, okay? I'm going to get you an easel and a drawing board. How you like that? Now, I'm hoping that some things that I'm trying to get from Arts Build, because I think we need support in our city. I think the city needs to support us. I'm going to go to the city. And we need some real, I mean, I pay my taxes. I've been paying my taxes for years. And I need the city to do something for me. You know, we got people running for city council, running for mayor. What have you done for the community? What have you done for our kids? That's what I'm interested in. So I'm going to go to them. And we're going to if we're going to be one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, we're going to have to include everybody. So I'm making that statement live on Facebook. And if they don't help me, I'm going to let you know, okay, the city wouldn't help me. Get you some easels. Yeah. I mean, I know Wade Hinton. I'm going to ask him. I hope if he wins, whoever wins, Wade Hinton, Monty Brule. I shouldn't call names. I shouldn't call names. But I'm going to ask all of them, whether they win or not. I mean, we're not running for office, and we've been doing things for the community. You don't have to run for office. You don't have to be in control to do something for the community. And there are some people who are running for offices, and I don't publicly support anybody because I think a preacher is not supposed to do that. So I think we're supposed, and we're a nonprofit too, and so yeah, that's good. Churches are nonprofits. They're not supposed to promote in politicians. But the Bible teaches us not to either. Because God loves everybody. Okay. So, what I've been doing is I've been sketching the basic shapes. Still sketching. Nothing is etched in stone. That means I can change anything I want to. And I want you to get used to making changes and fixing things. Now, I made a decision. I never said this, and I don't think I am to know this either, but I made a decision to share the best of who I am in these art classes. Because what I've noticed is that even though I'm an African American artist who's done a lot in this city over the years, a lot, I have murals in almost every community center, you know, people don't, they don't celebrate what I've done. And I think it's because I'm not trying to push my name out there. I'm not a brand. I'm not trying to push my brand. I'm trying to help people. It's not about money for me. For a lot of artists, it's about nothing but money. But what would you do if you're not getting paid? So I think it's important because of where my work is. My work is in a major collection, the Paul R. Jones collection. I didn't mention that. And at the University of Alabama has one of my pieces in it. And so my work is in a few major collections. Now, I'm basically unknown, but I think our city should support us. Anyway, I'm going to try to teach you a lot of the secrets that I've learned. some of the simple secrets that will help you. And I'm not going to just assume that you can't do it because you're young. See, now I drew this this brick-like rectangular cube, and I can see already that it's too long, even though it works real well. I like how it's working, because it's opening up that space. This line going this way, and the line going that way with this cube turning out, It's a directional. So it opens up space. So it lends to a lot of possibilities. So there's a lot of tricks, because we're drawing on a 2D surface, but we're trying to make the eye think about 3 dimensions. But this is really 2 dimensions. So we have to use line and shade and organization and everything to try to enhance that. But I can see, because of where that shadow falls, which is about in here, that I drew this shape a little bit too long. Now, I mentioned before, sometimes you need to exaggerate the shape to make your statement. Now, even though this is a mundane, if you will, sort of picture that I'm drawing, it's basically uninteresting. The way you draw it can make it interesting. The way you draw it. It's up to the artist to make it interesting, no matter what it is you're drawing. And that's why I suggest you draw from life and not from photographs, because a camera has one eye. So the camera can't see what you see. This is what I've done since I was a child. I don't do it now much, but when I was a child, I would wake up in the morning and the light would be coming in from the window and would cast shadows on the covers on my bed. And sometimes I would put my hand over one eye. I want you to do that. I want you to look at something and put your hand over one eye so that you see that eye, and see what that thing looks like with one eye, with your right eye that's open. And put that in your mind so that you can remember what you're seeing. Then put your hand over your right eye and look at that object with your left eye and see how it switched. And when you do it fast, it looks like your object moves. It looks like your object moves from one side to the next. And what that's showing you is how you're seeing. So when you look at something, I'm not going to use this pencil to draw that. I'll show you this. So say this is your eye. Okay. So when you see, say there's an object here. You see in a cone-like shape. Okay? It's a cone-like shape. So let's say you're looking at something from this side. This is your nose. This is the top of your head, okay? So if I'm looking here, I'll get a different color marker. So if I'm using two eyes, look what happens. So this eye has this cone-like shape, and this eye has this cone-like shape. So you have, now I'm not a scientist or optician, and I've never shown this before, so I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but Uh, well, I know this is right, but what I'm getting ready to say, I don't know if this is a good explanation. But I look at it like this: 1 dimension, 2 dimensions, 3 dimensions. Because your eyes put it together and you begin to see around the object. Whereas a camera has just one lens, one eye. You see the value? So what the camera is going to show you is going to be something that's already two-dimensional, because the camera is one-dimensional. And so when the human eye can see better than the camera. That makes sense, Iantha? This is so much fun. I mean, when you're doing little things like that when you're a kid, I mean, it's fascinating. So I have these shapes. Let me know when I have 10 minutes left. Okay. So you have these basic shapes. I have these shapes. This is what I was looking at. I was looking at, okay, where does this cube ends? I'm going to look at this shape right here. Now this is the part that I want you guys, the older kids, when I say older, I'll say 12 to 90. This is what I want you to see. This is a very important measurement right here, right here. So if I can get this close, then if I know that this is close, then I know how far up to go with this one. This is a very important measurement, this corner to here, and what I'm seeing. I don't know the picture that I took for you. It might look a little bit different. Okay, I'm telling you, every time I look at this thing, I'm seeing something different. So I need to move this cone over even more. See how I'm making changes? That's why we sketch, kids. Don't do this when you draw. You start drawing something, you look at it, and you make the heaviest line you can. That's out. We don't draw like that no more. Not in Splash. I don't care if you're 3 years old, you don't do that. It's okay. We're not doing that. That's not for art students to do. That's for people who don't take art classes. We sketch. See, you can have 1,000 lines on here, but as long as the lines are light, it don't matter. Easy to erase, and you can draw over it like I just did, because I might want to change it again. But I had this line here of this cone coming over too far on this cube. This space here between the cone and the sphere or ball, I can't really tell. It's very confusing because this ball is in front of everything. So I have it. I need to lower it a little bit. When I do, I just put my pencil up to see and close one eye. So I don't have to lower it. Well, maybe a little bit. It should be about right here, the bottom of it. And the top of it should be about right where it is. Okay. But this space I'm not sure about. But if I want to be a little bit more sure about it, I'll just kind of sketch the drop shadow and see if that looks right. And basically, I could move the ball over a little bit. So I'm just going to sketch the shadow in very lightly, because you don't want to see a line when you draw the shadow. And this has some multiple shadows. So if I move forward, I see more of this space. When I sit back in my chair, I see less. So the side of this sphere, who can say that? I cannot say that word correctly. Should be about right here. Okay? So now this is very close. I want to get this angle right here. So this angle and this angle should be the same. And this angle should be the same. That'll make it look more 3D. And this angle, that angle, and that angle should be the same. This angle, whatever this angle is, I need to decide what that is. This angle, that angle, and this angle is sort of the same. It's not quite, because this cube is turned in toward me, so it's almost foreshortened. And foreshortening means that as it comes forward, things look shorter. Now, so I have the basis. I'm going to erase the line that I don't need on this cone, so you're not confused. Now I want my picture to feel like the cone, so I'm going to do a contour. I think I sort of have the height right. It's sort of thick here. I'm going to do a contour. Okay, that's good. Now what you can do, and let's do that. Let's put our ruler on it. So I'm going to put my ruler on this, and for some reason my ruler is not flat. I don't see another ruler. I may have to use this one. No, because this. Oh, I know why it's not flat, because of this thing here. Okay, so I'm going to move my board up a little bit. I'm going to press the ruler down. Make sure you hold the ruler so that it don't move. I'm going to still use my H pencil, but I'm going to use the point, press lightly to make a sharp line that will be there, skinny sharp line. And I'm going to draw this line here, where I think it goes. Make sure just hold the ruler so that it don't move. The pressure is on the ruler, no pressure on the pencil. I just want to draw a sharp line, skinny sharp line. And then you could turn the paper over if you wanted to. I'm not going to turn my paper over. And I'm going to do the same thing with this line here. And I'm just going to go over every straight line with my ruler and the point of my H pencil, just to make those lines hard. Don't dig into the paper. Just put a little pressure so that you can see the line. But I think these lines are right. I have several lines to choose from, and I'm drawing the lines that I think work. Now, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make this line come in a little bit. It's about right there. I think it's going to look more like what I'm seeing if I do that. Maybe it don't. That didn't work, so that's a little problem there, a little problem area. So I changed that line. I'm going to use my art gum to get rid of this line here. Sometimes I'll use a kneaded eraser, and sometimes I'll use the art gum. When I use the art gum, I'll get a soft brush, soft wide brush. Just do that. So I have some lines on here I didn't want. So I'm going to do those lines again. But hopefully my shading will take care of that. And I made those lines too hard. And it's because of these lights. I can't really see. I'll try to do it from the opposite side and see if I can see it. Okay, I can. Okay, that's good enough. I could use a, let's see if I have one. I have stencils somewhere. Could you hand me that stencil over there on that back table, Anthony? For the circle, I'm going to use a stencil. And meanwhile, while she's getting me that stencil, usually I don't use stencils or rulers at all. But I know you may want to use a ruler, so I'm using a ruler now. Make sure you know exactly that you're sure of where the line goes before you use the ruler, though. But usually I never use rulers or stencils. Oh, okay, that's not circles. Those aren't circles there and that. Okay, we probably don't have. I thought it had stencil with circle in it. Is that one straight through there? Yeah, there they go. See, is there another one back there, or are they all the same? Or this one's not big enough.
Yeah, I got this one.
They're the same? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so I don't, as you can see, I don't have a stencil big enough. There's other ways to get a circle. Like you can get something that's round, that's around the same size. This is too big.
Like a cup.
Yeah, you can get this cup. Cup is a little bit too big, but it would work. I'm going to use the cup. So normally I wouldn't use a cup. I would just draw it free-handed. Well, I'm not going to use the cup because it's a little bit too big. I'll draw it free-handed unless I see something else. But that's what you would do. You find something that's around the same size and use it. But I'll just draw it. Let's see. Glasses. No, wait a minute. Turn it upside down. Okay, this glass is almost perfect. So I use the glass. The glass is a little smaller, but that's better than it being too big. So you hold the glass and trace around it. Okay. So that's the quick and dirty way to do it. Now I'm going to clean up around here with the art gum, and then I'm going to shade. I'm going to show you the power of the shading. I think you guys are getting the idea. Okay, for shading, I'm just going to use a 2B pencil, and I'm going to start with the cone. This is round at the top, and there's sort of like a dark edge here. Can you see this entire sheet of paper, or do I need to move it down?
Move it back down.
Okay. Okay. So I'm just going to use what's already here. Now, if I could put my ruler here to make this edge. just get something with a hard edge just to show you. So what I'm doing is I'm shading on this edge here using the side of my pencil. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some of the basic shades first. So there's a shadow cast here from this cube. I'm using a 2B pencil. I'm not going to use anything other than a 2B. This is cross hatching. Very lightly touching the paper. And I want, there's a shade here on the side of this cube. I'll do a little cross hatching here. I'm barely touching the paper. I'm going to use two B and H pencils. Those are the only two pencils I'm going to use. So I'm going to get rid of my other pencils so that I don't pick up one by mistake. And I want the shade on the top of this cube to be lighter. So I'm using the H pencil. Also, I'm going to go back down to get the little white areas of the paper that you can see in between the 2B lead. I go back down with the H pencil to make that a little darker. Now, some things that we're doing are going to make this top a little light, a little darker. Now, you see how I want to clean up the front of this cube, so I'm using my kneaded eraser, and then make it look a lot whiter. Get my 2B pencil and cast this shadow from the cube to the cone. The light is coming from this direction. I have several light sources. This is not just one light source. And that's why you can see overlapping shadows. It's rare that you ever see something with just one light source. Now you would work this up slowly. I'm going to go ahead and clean this cone up a little bit. Then I'm going to use my HB, my H pencil, not HB, it's a H. I'm going to do this second shadow that's cast. And it looks kind of, because this cone is turning back into space, the shadow is kind of, it seems to be kind of rounded for some reason. It bends. I like making the bottom of an object dark. To show that shadow. Now this could be a cityscape that you're doing. Because if you look at a city, you look at the buildings, they're just a bunch of rectangles. Now I like drawing my shadows like to trace the shape of this cone. So did we start 5 minutes late or 10 minutes late? Okay. I'm still using my H pencil. And by putting a shadow on this side, it's going to help this object to seem to turn. Now, this is the perfect time to use a blending stick, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to resist using the blending stick because I want you to learn how to use lines first, and when you go to your blending stick, it's going to really make the thing look realistic. But if you can just do it with lines, I should say this, we teach drawing and painting in a way that I know a lot of modern art, you don't have to be able to draw, but that's not Splash's philosophy. Splash's philosophy said that you only don't do something is because you don't want to, not because you can't. So you should be able to draw if you're going to call yourself an artist, in my opinion. But I'm old school. If you can't draw, learn, anybody can learn to draw. It's not something that you can't learn how to do. To just take the time for your own practice to be able to do something. But today, because everything's so corrupted in the art world, everybody calls themselves an artist and they can't even draw. And anybody can learn to draw. So remember I said, to me, art is about more than just money. A lot more. So I'm drawing these complex shadows. They have light coming in from two different directions. The light coming in from the left-hand side is stronger than the light that's coming in from the right-hand side. So usually you wouldn't notice it. There's also, because these objects are white, there's also a sort of like a glow, there's a refracted light, and it ends up looking like kind of like a glow, like it's the light bouncing off this object hitting that white background. So the shadow is not flat black. So now I'm looking at the different shades of gray, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to mimic those different shades of gray that I'm seeing. This is very hot drawing. The temperature is very warm. You can do this with the pencil that you use in school, a basic 2B pencil. You can do this with. An art drum is very useful for taking up what's supposed to be detailed lines, finished lines, that that was a mistake. And we make mistakes, and that's okay. Just like life, you make mistakes in life, but hopefully you don't keep making the same mistake over and over again. And the reason why, you notice these pencils don't have erasers, because we want to resist erasing. We want to fix our mistakes if we can. We want to try to fix them, not ignore them, and we don't want to keep making the same mistakes over and over again. And that's why we practice. But practice is fun, because in doing this work here, and I admit I don't do a lot of practice work, but when I'm teaching you, I'm practicing myself, because I'm usually making paintings, and I just go through the struggle of the paintings. But remember, I spent years and years and years practicing already. But so when I'm teaching, I'm practicing. Or if I'm doing a commission, to me a commission art piece is like practice to me. But my studio practice is much more involved. When I'm just painting for art's sake. Oh, by the way, if you are a parent and you take splash classes, look, one day your child may want to go to college. Well, they may get an art scholarship. I never got a student loan because I could draw. I did work study and got scholarships. Work study and scholarships. Never got a student loan. So I never had to pay back a student loan. And that's what art did for me. That's what my gift did for me. Because remember, your gift will make room for you. Let's value these kids' gifts. I tell you, my mother, she valued my gift, and my father did too, because my mother, she let me take that famous artist course. She wanted to get some help for me. She knew she couldn't help me, so she did what it took. We were poor, living in the projects. And my father was the kind of guy that, like, you know how you ladies get when you made dinner? You don't want the dinner to get cold, and you get upset when somebody don't come, and not just ladies, but men too. You get upset when the dinner is ready, and the person's not in there to eat the dinner, right? So my mother would get upset with me a lot, because after school, I would go play basketball, of course, like most normal kids. And then at the community center, Avondale Center. And then when I came home, I lay down on the floor and draw. And if I was drawing when dinner was ready, my mother would call my brother and I, and she would get upset with me if I don't come in there and eat. And my father would not. That's the only time that he would disagree with my mother as far as about us. She ran the show, basically. But when it came to my art, he would say, don't bother him. Don't bother him. I remember I had a student in Winston-Salem, and this student was gifted young black artist, but he kept getting into trouble. And so to try to punish him, his mother said, well, I'm not going to let him come to art class. I tried to explain. I said, that's the wrong thing to do. That's the wrong thing to do, because art might be his salvation. It might be his way out. Let him come to art class. Stop everything else, but let him come to art class. Because a lot of kids who are gifted in art, school is just boring. And the teachers are boring sometimes, because their minds are already engaged on a high level. And if the teacher is not creative enough, then that young artist is going to lose interest. So this light here, this shadow, the light is sort of hitting, coming down at this angle and lighting this area up right behind this cube, but it's not getting to this area. There's also a light coming in from this side. There's 3 light sources, one from this angle, one from this angle, and one from that angle. And that's what we're seeing. So I'm drawing all these lights. Now, for me, personally, that interests me, these different light sources. And they come in handy, listen, when you're drawing landscapes, interior landscapes. What I mean by interior is like you're not off looking at a vista, but you are actually inside the landscape, inside the woods. And so there are trees overhead with leaves on them, and that changes the light. So the light is bouncing around everywhere. And being aware of light sources and what's happening with the light can make the drawing a lot more interesting. Okay, I've gone over 3 minutes, right? I'm almost done. I didn't think I could do it. Okay. There's some more details I can see with these shadows that I'm probably not going to do. Oh yeah, I need to do this one because this is something that you guys see. You see this shadow. It's really wonderful, really. So you see the shadow cast from the ball and the comb, and they're playing with each other. This is so much fun. It's wonderful. It's like the wonder of creation. It's not just the objectivity, but it's the light. Not just objects, but lighting. I love lighting. There's a movie that, well, it's a program that I watch, that we watch. You mind if I tell them the program we watch?
I don't know what program you
Vera. Vera on Amazon. The 8th season. It has wonderful lighting. I'll watch movies for the lighting. It's a series. It's a series on Amazon. But the 8th season has beautiful lighting. This is a show out of Britain, Great Britain, England. And then there's also light going back here from this I'll go ahead and sketch that in because it's interesting. So look at shadows, how light is cast. If your house is dark all the time, you're not going to see a lot of shadows if your house is too dark all the time. Turn on some lights, even for a few minutes, and just look at the shadows. Sometimes it's harder to see shadows when you're outside. Okay, I'm going to end here, and I hope you guys and gals get the idea. I made some marks that I don't want on here. You know, my hand always slips, so that's what the needed eraser is for. Then put your initials, well, your name, your full name, put your full name and your age on it. I want to see these pictures. And I think if for the month of March and maybe April, if you do every class, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and you can find this class also on Splash's Facebook page and Splash Summer Arts Festival Facebook page. And how long does it take for this to get to YouTube? A day. So a day or two, you can go to YouTube and find these classes. Yeah, by Monday. This will be on YouTube as well. And I know one of the most important things that I got was an easel. I never got an easel when I was a child. I was an adult before I could afford one. Easels don't cost that much now, but a lot of people don't have the money even to buy a little simple easel and a drawing board. But for Splash students, if you're on Splash Roll, and I know you, and I know that you're working hard, I think I want to get you an easel because I want you to paint on the easel, and I want you to draw on the easel. And since we're in COVID, you're not at Splash. If you was here, you would be working on the easel. So we'll try to do that for you. Maybe we'll give away 10 easels, 10 or 15. If the city helps us or somebody helps us, and I have to make sure I call the city. I can't talk to you about the city, and then I don't call them. So I have to please help remind me to call the city. And I'm going to see if we can get some easels for our students. Once again, thank you for joining us. It's been my pleasure. I'm Charlie Newton. This is Splash. And remember, art is for everyone. Bye-bye.